What's that? Oh, no, we got 15 seconds. Good evening. We welcome you here at the regular meeting of the West Valley City Council. We note that we have a full quorum present tonight. All council members are participating tonight. And as is typical, we will begin with inside the city video.
So today we're out here talking. It's getting to be warm weather. We got people playing outside and traveling to different locations using electronic scooters and devices. We would like to make sure before they leave that they prepare themselves. That first step before you even get on is to prepare yourself with your clothing, protective gear. During the daytime, we have motorists out there. We want to wear bright clothing that you can be seen. During the nighttime, if you happen to travel, then make sure you wear reflective clothing. You need that reflective clothing to be seen at night. Also, you want protective gear, a helmet. At least wear a helmet. That'll protect your head. And if you have time, you can wear other protective gear. We have two different types of usage of these scooters or bicycles. We have those that are the kids that are riding around in the neighborhood, going to and from school or to friends' houses. And we have those people that use it for traveling, going to and from work. They commute on that. And there's different rules that apply for both of those. If you're going to commute to work or travel out there for work purposes and you're over 16 years old, we want you to follow all rules like you're driving a car. You have to follow all traffic rules. You flow with the flow of traffic. You have to follow all traffic laws like stop signs, red lights, all of those things just like you were driving a car. You will travel to the right side of the roadway unless you're turning left, then you can get into the left side lane. If there's a bike lane, we want you to use that bike lane. Stay off the sidewalks because that's where our kids are at. And as you're out there, as you can see, drivers may not see you, so you need to be alert and aware of the vehicles around you and the circumstances, and make eye contact with these drivers. If they don't see you, if you don't see their eyes, they're not seeing you. So make sure you get that eye contact. So with kids, when they're out driving to their friend's house or to school, they're much smaller. So the kids really need to pay attention to the traffic, and drivers need to pay attention to those kids. Kids, when they're traveling, stay to the right side of the road or up on the sidewalks. They need to stop, get off their bike, and walk them across the crosswalks. Walk them as they cross the street. Follow all traffic rules as a pedestrian at that point, just to make sure they stay safe. Drivers, there are a lot more bikes out there. People are riding it commuting, they're riding it for pleasure, or they're going to and from school and friends. As a driver, you want to pay attention to those bikes because you need to give them at least 3 feet between you and them. So if you need to, move over and give them the space that they need to travel safely. As you're driving down the road and you're approaching an intersection, make sure you slow down, pay attention, look on the sidewalk, look for those kids that are riding bikes or scooters or traveling, even if they're in the bike lane. Pay attention to these bikes and scooter riders. They need that extra protection. Make eye contact with them and watch for them before you proceed through. Go out and enjoy your bikes, enjoy your scooters, go out and enjoy this beautiful weather, but make sure you're safe. Make sure you wear your protective gear and have fun out there.
Very timely advice. Safety is important. Thank you. Next, we have our minutes of July 13th. Motion on the minutes.
Move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Properly before us. Hearing no further comments, then without objection, the minutes will be approved. No objections, it's unanimous. Next, we go to our first presentation. Report by Councilwoman Karen Lang on a proposed property tax increase by Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. Ms. Lang.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to report on the proposed property tax rate increase for the 2021 season. This will affect the budget for 21-22 for Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. I represent the city on that board and feel privileged to be able to do that. This report is required by the state statute that we make this report to the legislative entity when a tax rate increase is proposed in the budget, which is the case for the 21-22 budget. I think we're way ahead, Eric. Yeah, one more. We have one more, please. There we go. We have a public hearing scheduled for August 11th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. where citizens can attend and ask questions or make comments. And the district's headquarters are at 8215 South, 1300 West in West Jordan. So Jordan Valley has an overall total budget of $122 million, including capital needs with $84.5 million in revenues. Property tax revenue is 27% of Jordan Valley's total budgeted revenue. This proposed tax increase would generate approximately $1.8 million of additional revenue, which is a 9.4% increase. Even though the tax rate would increase by 9.4%, it results in a modest annual increase of $8.18 for an average residential property, and it will be just a 1.3% increase in the total cost of your water. The purpose for the additional property tax revenue is to finance and support Jordan Valley's capital and bonding needs related to the growing water demands. One example of the capital needs is the upcoming expansion. One more, Eric. Thank you. Expansion of the Jordan Valley Water Treatment Plant in Harriman, which is estimated to cost $65.3 million over the next 5 years. In order to complete this project and several other large projects needed to support growing demands, Jordan Valley will need to issue $180 million of new bonds in the next 5 years to take care of that growth. And listed here on this last slide is just the 3 top major projects that will be dealt with these bond issuance. The district just approved a $45 million bond. This year, in 2 years, they'll propose a $90 million bond, and then in 2 more years, a $45 million. And that's what adds up to the $180 million on the slide above. And that is my report, and I will turn the time over to Mayor for public input.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Would like to come forward and comment? Seems like there are not any, so we'll close that public comment period. Any final words?
I would just like to thank Mark Forsyth for coming tonight. He's our general manager of the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District.
Council members, any comments?
Just one, Mayor. Just a note for those who may be listening in, those that are here and not familiar with this process. This is a report by a separate taxing entity that is required by the state so that hopefully, I think the purpose behind this is that the information can be better disseminated to the public. It is not something that the city council votes on or approves or decides.
Good clarification.
Karen?
Yes.
Yeah, if you have a second, can you elaborate the money we increase or the money you want to increase the tax we're gonna use, or you gonna use for what area or project in that the Jordan company?
Yes, the 3 that are listed on this slide is the treatment plant of just over $65 million, a new storage reservoir, which is needed for capacity to take care of the daily needs of $23.4 million. And then a new booster pump station, which depending on where your water comes from, you have to lift it to get it to the residents that are living at a higher elevation. And that will be 1.5 million. And then the list goes on, but that's the three major ones.
And that the water gonna go through multiple cities, right, correct?
Yes, it takes care of the valley in the Jordan Valley Water agencies, and they do have some retail offices or residents as well. So it covers all of that, and it comes through the wholesale. So Granger Hunter is our agency that takes care of our water.
Okay, thank you. And that means translating into this matter is other cities, they will do the same thing like we do right here in our city?
Yes, each board member will present to their entity as to what the proposed tax increase will be. And then it also, we get the opportunity to tell people the address and the date of our public hearing so that they come and give their comments there as well.
And other city, they have kind of very well received.
Pardon?
Other cities, the people in other city, they very receptive in this plan.
I haven't heard any negative comments yet. We're not all the way through all of our reporting. So I'll probably know in August, but the ones that have reported so far have had a positive outlook on it.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
In general terms, what is the coverage area? Is it most of the Salt Lake Valley, with
It
the
is.
exception of maybe Salt Lake City?
Salt
or-
Lake City, a little bit of White City. There's just a few little pockets, but we cover most of the agencies that supply water in the valley.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the Jordan Valley Board and staff, their long-range plans are phenomenal. So I think we'll be set on water as long as it snows somewhere.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet.
With that then, that concludes that item on our agenda. There wasn't anyone online, was there? No, didn't think so.
No, sir.
Okay. With that, next we'll go to our regular public comment period. These are on any item. Now, we did have 5 people sign up. We do have a public hearing just a little bit later on the property at 1078 West Parkway Avenue. If you're here to speak to that, if I call on you, just let me know and we'll hold you for that one. This public comment period is for those other items that people want to bring up. And so I believe we have several here and then one online. Okay, why don't we take the one online?
Mayor, first we have Colleen Brunson. Colleen, you should be able to unmute your microphone now.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for allowing me to attend this evening. I do apologize for my absence last week. Hopefully Nicole was informative for you that it was due to having been giving the wrong access information for the meeting. I did submit a letter to you with my concerns. And I know I'm not a member of your community, but I do have some concerns for this particular issue in your community that does affect some of your citizens that would like to adopt from the shelter in West Valley. I'm hoping that you read it through and find it within your hearts to not let this situation happen again. I couldn't bring myself to submit pictures to you because they're quite graphic. But Azula almost lost her life the second day she was here. She had not been here 24 hours. She had only been in the shelter for 20 days, and she had lost 10 to 13 pounds. One person was working that day and was trying to take care of 86 dogs. That doesn't include the cats and the rabbits and whatever else was there. Azula was under a lot of stress, like most animals are when they're brought in. And they had said they were hand feeding them, but I don't know how they could have had the time to try to hand feed her and take care of 86 animals. The fact that it took almost 10 days for someone to give me a call and try to make an appointment and let me know she had already been adopted, I find disturbing. If it had not been for me getting a hold of the person in charge of your shelter and being the pushy person I can be, we would not have had her, and she would have definitely died. So I am just imploring on your humanity, your integrity, your compassion, your moral values, to just do what's right for the animals, the employees. This is man's best friend. We don't treat man's best friend that way. He would never treat us that way. So all I'm here is to implore upon you to please improve this situation and make a difference for your community that wants to adopt and for your community members who work the shelter, because it is a tireless job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Steve Dean.
My name's Steve Dean. I live at 5465 West October Way. I've lived there since 1987. I fear God. I like to have animals. I've had nothing but trouble from my neighbors in the back. We've had 3 dogs, 3 suspicious deaths, and I thought that they had something to do with it. The last dog, I had an autopsy done. They couldn't find anything, but she informed me, whatever they're feeding it, get the poop. Well, we didn't get the poop this time. Before all this happened, I lost my wife of 36 years. I lost my job. I'm retired. All I have are these dogs and cats. And I was sitting outside, minding my own business. I got my last dog with me, a border collie. He's out barking at some birds. He does it for 2 minutes. Somebody in back says to me, and it was really nice the way she said it, call me my name, Stephen. If you don't keep that dog quiet, that dog is going to end up like the last one, because we did the last one too. I mean, can you imagine for a moment? This is supposed to be a human being. And I got my paper and I took my dog and I took him in the garage. And I thought about it and I thought, somebody needs to let these people know that I fear God and I have a firearm and I'm going to protect my dogs and my house and my property. And if they want to take it any further, I'm ready, willing, and able to fight. But to poison my dog behind my back and then taunt me over it is hitting below the belt. And the case number on this is 21I025885. And one of the problems we've had next door, see what happened was they had 2 dogs and they let them run the neighborhood. Animal control issued an order of revocation. They came out and took the 2 dogs. And then a week later, my dog's dead. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And then I have a new case and a new number. The people that had those 2 dogs have moved them 1 house over and they have 4 Chihuahuas. And I was trying to go out to the mailbox to get my mail and I was chased by 4 Chihuahuas. And I've contacted animal control. So what they've basically done is taken their 2 dogs that got taken by animal control, shift them over one more house, and now I have 4 Chihuahuas that run at will. My dog never ran the neighborhood. And the case number on that is A21091410. And I just appreciate you guys let me blow off a little bit of steam. I'm really angry over this. But I fear God more than I fear them. So it is what it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Jim Visock.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As a pet lover, it's sad to hear that somebody is baiting animals to kill them. As to the shelter is greatly understaffed right now. They're just like everybody. They're trying to hire more people. They're asking for more volunteers. So if you want to get involved and volunteer at the shelter, or if you want to make it your career, they're looking for people. Symphony last night. First time I went and watched the West Valley Symphony. It was good. Normally, my experience with symphonies, you get the mellow music. They were upbeat. There was, it was a fun event, and there was well over 100 people there. It was a nice time. The Taste of Utah that happened was a great event. I got to talk with Senator Lee and actually have him hand me bags. They donated 500 bags to my hometown, to the food bank, a prepared bag to give out. They give them to the block captains and they'll pass them out through the city. They did that with all the supporters, the companies that support my hometown. There's a lot of my hometown people there. So it was a great event. And he was actually really excited to jump up in the semi, get the tie off, pop open the shirt. He's like, I don't get to do that. He joked around how he sleeps in a tie. And so he was really, really excited. The other thing, and I've been forgetting for several weeks on this one, can I get a commitment from you guys when you guys are on camera or away, have your camera on so we know you're there. Just a thought. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next, we have Chris Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. City Manager. I've got a few things I wanted to talk about. 2 weeks ago, after City Council, I was outside chatting with a couple people, and there was a minor police altercation with a woman. I didn't see how it started, but I saw the woman was taken to the ground onto the grass, and she was quite verbal and quite upset. Chief Jacobs had come out of the building a little after me. She saw what was going on with the officers. It was about a football field or so away from us down on the sidewalk. She slowly walked over, let her officers do their job to try to de-escalate the situation. And once she got there, the woman was still visibly upset. But Chief Jacobs sat down on the grass, got on the same level with this woman and started talking to her. And that de-escalated the situation instantly. And I want to applaud Chief Jacobs and our police department for the leadership and the training that they're doing to keep the residents of our city as well as themselves safe. I think they're doing a fantastic job. There's been a little bit of negative press about some of our police officers, but we're doing what we can. We're one of the best. We're not perfect. There's always going to be room for improvement, but we've got some fantastic leadership. And I just wanted to publicly say that Chief Jacobs is doing a good job. A couple things I also wanted to talk about is we've been talking a lot about development in our city, building new housing. And I want to make sure that we're focusing on the quality of life of our residents. I live in District 2 of our city. Here's a little map to show you guys. There's not very many green spots on that map. And if you look at the city at large, there's green spots up in District 3, District 4, a little bit over here in District 1. But there's almost nothing here in District 2. And we're talking about building a lot of high-density residential places in our city for people to live. But we need more than just a roof and 4 walls to live in our city. I want to make sure that when you guys are determining what we're doing with our city, how we're zoning it, that we're taking care of our residents, not just making space for more residents, but taking care of them as well. We need to have public places where we can go and enjoy the outdoors. I want to talk specifically about a project that's going on 3800 South and about Cheryl Street. It's right where the Costco is. There's an empty lot between the Costco and the Zurchers. And I think it's been zoned for a very high density apartment building. And I've been told by the residents, I've been out there in the right subdivisions talking to people, and they've told me that when the school that used to be was there and the baseball diamonds that were there, when that was taken out and Costco was put in, that they would receive green space. But nothing in the city plan shows green space there. Those apartments haven't been built. I don't think it's too late to change that part of the city and give us the park and the green space that was promised to the residents. They were given a little crosswalk, but I've been on that street and the cars don't stop for anybody. I think something simple that the city could do at minimum is put in some of the flashing lights, similar to what we have on 31st South over by the Family Fitness Center, where they can push the button, it flashes the lights and it tells traffic to stop. I stood there for 5 minutes watching a kid just standing there waiting for traffic to stop so he could cross the street to go home from that shopping area. We need to make sure that it is safe for our residents and that we have a place for our residents to enjoy the city. I've got about 30 seconds left. A year and a half ago, I stood up here with a bunch of other residents and encouraged you to pass a resolution in support of HB 411, the deal with Rocky Mountain Power for clean energy. During this last year, you guys have dropped out of that plan. We're no longer a part of that. What is the plan moving forward? What are we going to do to make sure that the city and our residents have access to clean energy for our homes? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Markham.
Okay, thanks, guys. You know, since I've been coming, we've talked about a lot of things that we're going to do. You know, early on, we talked about what were we going to do, gravel driveways or concrete driveways. We caved to the people that wanted gravel driveways, which are now weed driveways. We talked about the difference between landscape rock and gravel. I'm not quite sure that went any place within the city as far as denoting, you know, is because we can park on gravel. So if I gravel my front yard, can I park on it? Who knows? We talked about RVs extending clear out to the street from the side of the house. We had people come in and complain about not being able to do that. There's storage lots every place, but we caved. We let them have their way. You know, I'm not quite sure we have code enforcement people out there anymore. Because if anybody complains a lot, it's me. And maybe they've lost the philosophy as the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've got some places in my neighborhood that are atrocious that I've even drove by and showed to Lane on one of our drive-bys. And it's a terrible, I use a certain word for it, but I won't use it here. But, you know, it's like I've said before, we need to work a little bit harder out here in West Valley. We already have a reputation of West Valley. Violence, people that don't care. So we have to work a little bit harder. And I'd like to see us work a little bit harder. When we make some of these plans of gravel, landscape gravel, let's follow through with it. Let's not put it on the side burner. You know, you get side-by-side RVs. You know, I had an RV, had a big camper when I moved into my neighborhood. I sold it because I couldn't get it in my backyard. You know, we've got to have, if we can't have people that care, which we have some people that care, and we have a lot of people that don't care. You know, we talk about how many people can we squeeze in a house. You know, we've tried to talk about that. There's a house down the road from me that the garage door is there, but when you go inside, it's a regular constructed sheetrock wall for living quarters. Out back, they've got a really nice tough shed built with a little overhang, looks like a cute little cottage. Looks like something that could be used for a disabled vet. You know, twin bed, little kitchenette, that sort of thing. We kind of sit back, we let a lot of this stuff get away from us. You know, get back to code enforcement. You know, if you've got 3 lots there, for example, you call and turn in lot B, but A and C are just as bad. Why can't the code enforcement officers look and say, these are bad too? I'm going to leave them a notice. Because of who I am and what I do, I've watched the code enforcement officer just drive through my neighborhood. I don't know that he looks from side to side, and I don't think he does. Maybe he's concentrating on the road in front of him. But, you know, if we want to get people, we've got all these new people that you were talking about that's going to come in here making good salaries, $150,000 a year. To me, that's a good salary, but I'm old. You know, that kind of money wasn't made when I was younger. Are they going to want to move into some of these neighborhoods when their neighbors' yards are full of weeds, you know, so forth? I don't know what we're going to do. You know, we've got this big giant, Karen was talking about water. I think it's optimistic that we're going to need a pump station. We got to have something to pump and store. You know, how much water is going to be used at that monstrosity apartment where Kmart used to be on 41 and Redwood? I'll bet a whole lot more water than the Kmart used on the Rendezvous. We need to start thinking about total West Valley and what the people that we want to come here and make their homes here. We need to start supporting those of us that care and want to do something about the city and try to improve it. Or if not, pretty soon all the people that really care are going to pack it up. I don't plan on moving. It's like I tell my kids, my next move is going to be to a care facility. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mike Rigdon.
All of you people that were here and voiced your concern, I appreciate it. Every one of you. You know, a lot of times there's only 1 or 2 people, practitioner, sorry about that. I have been accused of falsifying information. I apologize for that, sir. But you know what, practitioner? I don't want to be the mayor. I'm
Mr.
talking
Rigdon?
to you.
Mr. Rigdon, yeah.
Yes.
Please direct your comments.
Oh, I'm
to me.
sorry. I got
Yeah.
distracted. Apologize.
It's just to keep.
My apologies, sir.
No, you're fine.
Sometimes I get distracted because I'm over 65 years of old. And that irritates me because I'm considered a senior citizen, a real senior citizen, not a development. When I moved into West Valley City, I moved into a single family resident home. What does that mean to you? I assure you that you probably lived at the same time I did. And did you have your mother's husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, sister, aunt, uncle, aunt, everybody living in the same house with you? No, you didn't, did you? I assure you that happens now. Because why? Because the federal government can come and the legislature can come and they can tell you how many people can live in a resident home. And they can tell you what age, or that age doesn't apply anymore because we're changing the law. Sorry. Anyway, back to one thing that I want to talk about, the most important thing, and that's the safety. And I've been talking about this since the first of the year, and you have assured me many times. Many times. What have you assured me of? Welcome to city life. Well, that's living in the big city. You recognize that there is way too much speed on all city streets, quote unquote. We have a plan. Did you not say that to me? Yes, you did. End culture. I said that at the start of the year. End culture. There's ways that you can build revenue in this city by just implementing a few things. As I was traveling on 4100 highway, of course, we could call it the, I guess, Dan Jorgensen Highway, or we could call it the Pyle Speedway, because this part of the highway is way too fast. It doesn't allow safety for the public to ride, to walk in an area that has great big tall pillars, no leeway for a bicyclist to ride on the sidewalk in between 4200 West and 5400 West going east and west. That happens to be in the north and the south of certain Congress people, or council people here. But basically, when I was on my way here, I like to know, why don't we enforce speed limit rules? And especially after 7, 9, 11 o'clock at night. Why do we have to hear the thrashing of speeds going up and down our city streets and no traffic control protecting the citizens? Doesn't matter where you're at. Mayor, all streets.
Okay, thank you. I believe that that completes all of them in the public comment. I assume there wasn't anyone else here to speak. With that, we'll close our public comment period. Go back on our agenda. Let's see, city manager, any comments?
No comments tonight, sir. Thanks.
Council members? Okay. With that then, we'll go to the next item on our agenda, which is a public hearing on application Z-4-2021 filed by Greg Wilson for a zoning change on property at 1078 West Parkway Avenue. And we will, in conjunction with that, we will consider ordinance 21-47. That particular property, there was previously approved for a zone change to do a cabinet plant there, and due to some changes that took place, they requested an additional 15 feet for the BRP zoning on the property that was designated there. And so this doesn't change a whole lot, but it does add a little bit more property to it. That is the issue before us. But because of the type of issue that it is, we need to hold a public input portion of our committee. So we will, I believe we have one person online. We'll start with that individual.
We have Greg Wilson, who is the applicant, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
How you guys doing tonight? Good. This will be a quick one because this should be pretty quick and easy. We're just looking for an extra 15 feet because the building's getting bigger and the business is getting bigger, and it should work out pretty good. So I'm just here to answer any questions if you have any.
Don't see any questions from the council. So if that's all your comments, thank you. We'll see if there's anyone else here to comment on this. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? If not, then we will close the public comment portion, come back to the council for any further action or discussion.
Move for approval of ordinance 21-47.
Second.
Properly before us. And seeing nor hearing any further discussion, then we'll go to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
No,
Motion passes by majority.
that's just to be consistent.
I thought maybe you were okay with 14.5 feet, but 15 just pushing it.
Oh. Thank you for adding the right comment to that. So, okay, that passed. Next, we'll go on to our next item on our agenda, Resolution 21-124. Authorize the city to accept 4 deeds for property on Decker Lake Drive. This property at 2997 South, a quarter of an acre, is a piece of property that is owned by 4 different people. That's why there's 4 deeds there, 4 ownerships. That piece of property is being donated to the city. It has not much value. It's between a parking lot and a business, and the owner of it decided that they would donate it to the city since they were not able to use it, I guess, or couldn't find any use for it. So although the city didn't really need it for anything, we will accept that property if this proposal passes. So I think that's probably all I'll say on that, unless the council has anything to add to it. No, then to the council.
I have moved for approval of Resolution 21-124.
Second.
Properly before us. No further comments, then to our city recorder.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 21-125. This is to authorize the acceptance of a grant from the state of Utah for the Crosstown Trail signage of $10,000. And of course, we have to add matching funds to that per state requirements. This signage, the trails being in a city, oftentimes certain portions of it, especially when it crosses city streets and doesn't do it exactly straight across the street, there's oftentimes a need to identify or if it goes along a city street where there's sidewalks, it needs some clarity to make sure that people can follow those trails. That's part of it. Anyway, some signage to identify that. With that introduction, any other comments from the council? Or if not, then it's yours to act on as you deem appropriate.
I move for approval of resolution 21-125.
Second. Properly before us, with no further comments, then to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have Resolution 21-126. This is to award a contract to Rolf Construction for the construction of a storm drain. This will be in the area of Stanton Drive. This is a fairly large project, $760,000. The project goes and replaces existing storm drains and also encloses some storm drain inlets, additional inlets in an area where there have been drainage problems. The authorized amount is $760,000. The contract bidder, $688,992. We do allow some for contingencies that may occur for unanticipated concerns. But this is where the money goes from the stormwater fee that residents are charged in order to, as our city builds out, the water runs off the streets, it needs a place to go, and we have a system for managing that. And it's required by federal law. So anyway, with that introduction then to the council.
I would move for approval of Resolution 21-126.
Second.
Properly before us, then without further ado, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have Resolution 21-129. This is one of our consent items because it is very routine. Property at 5281 West Postwood Circle on the 4700 South project that will begin here in the future. It's a real estate purchase agreement and perpetual easement and a temporary construction easement from Braden Twitchell. These, we've had a number of them already. We'll continue to have more once that project gets underway for widening and for reconstructing portions of that, improvements, etc. That is the issue before us. To the council.
Move for approval of resolution 21-129.
Second.
Properly before us. With that then to our city recorder.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, there's no need for a closed session, so that concludes our business for the regular session of the City Council for this week. Unless there are any final comments, we have a final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn without opposition, then we will stand adjourned. Hearing and seeing no opposition, that's unanimous. We're done for the evening. Thank you all for coming and for those